Happy Friday, everyone. Tom Grisafi, Ag Bull Media, Ag Bull Trading, coming to you live from my basement. We got the one and only Mr. Wiesemeyer ready to talk. He built a good show. A little different energy this week. Kind of a lot of drama, but not as much as a week ago. But with that, let's give him the introduction. There is no bad Wiesemeyer show ever. This one might go a little fast, though. You ready?
I'm ready. I'm recently back from Nebraska, Auburn, Nebraska. A great meeting there with Ruth Curtis's crop insurance people. Farmers Mutual and Hale sponsored it, and we had a great time. I learned a lot, and we'll get more into that later. And next week, this Sunday, I go down to New Orleans for the rice grower meeting. I've done that many years, love the rice growers. And then I head out to Newton, Kansas. I've done that 12 or 13 years, almost in a row, but I missed last year. So I can't wait to see those cattle and wheat producers there. And then I fly back and I go to DC for a peanut grower meeting. So I'm meeting with grassroots producers, which I like, Tommy.
You say peanuts, and all I can think of is Jim, you're nuts. Let's get to the show.
You hold it up, and this is the best protein and the smallest protein you can get if you want to feed the world. Peanuts.
I like it. I like it. Jimmy Carter would be proud of you. China soybeans purchase a change deadline. What's going on?
Well, now USDA had a over 400,000 ton U.S. soybean daily sales announcement today. But when I say a possible change here, Tommy, is Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, said earlier this week that their purchases, the timeline, remember he used to say by the end of this month, by the end of December, all of a sudden he said February the 26th. So, and I've checked with Treasury. I still don't have a bona fide answer as to why those goalposts moved.
Goalpost. It's like you knew.
Well, this will be a consistent pattern this
Jim,
week. We're going to use this goalpost one several times because issues are changing here.
I Googled moving the goalpost and I looked at images and this bad boy came up. I'm like, that was made for us specifically.
It was. And I think, Scott Bessent grows, well, he's got a soybean farm.
Yeah, North Dakota.
I think what he probably means is when he says the season, he probably means the marketing year. So once we ever get a signed agreement, if we do, and I think that's the next one, Tommy, we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Will we ever see that signed agreement? Remember last week, we said Rollins and Bessent said around Thanksgiving they were going to solidify the signed agreement. We still don't have it. So this just leads to rumors that there's really no tonnage involved on the purchases of U.S. soybeans. I've seen some consultants tell their clients that, despite that being in a fact sheet from the White House. You'll recall the 12 million tons between when the announcement was made and now February 26 used to be December, and then 25 million tons for calendar years 26, 27, and 28. China has never confirmed that, and that's led into the rumors that this is more of a political statement as opposed to a bona fide trade policy statement.
Let me ask you a question. How do we make the USDA, Rollins, we're not going to get to Trump, but who can be accountable for this?
Well, I think the U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer should be, of course, Scott Bessent, because he's the one who first mentioned it. Even Trump and Rollins. Yeah, there's Trump and then Rollins. Uh, she has indicated this timeline as well. So I think within the next week or two, we're going to get some more specifics and hopefully something from China,
Mhm.
because it just feeds into the rumors. And analyst. Yeah, there's Jameson Greer, the U.S. Trade Representative. Uh, this just feeds into some analyst bias. I think if they're bearish the market, they'll use this, Tommy, and I've seen it in a couple of analyst comments. But many people think that China won't fulfill those tonnage levels anyway. That they'll just say U.S. prices are above the price of Brazilian soybeans. But right now, you've got Trump and China's leader Xi Jinping and the various officials from both countries. They're in a positive attitude towards each other. So that's why I think you'll continue to see soybean purchases from China, hopefully Chinese purchases of sorghum, and eventually maybe cotton, because sorghum and cotton need those purchases. You've got cotton prices, what, around 64.
Lower sixes, yeah, it's
Yeah,
horrible.
and they need to be in that 85 to
Oof,
90 cent area. So it's cotton needs a turnaround here.
yeah.
But bottom line, it looks like China is going to have longer to purchase the U.S. soybeans in order to fulfill whatever is in that agreement until we see
hmm
it.
You know who called BS on this is the Chicago Board of Trade front month soybean market. This is a 1 day, every color is a
That
1 day chart of soybeans. This is January. See that big down red bar? That's today, Jim.
Yeah, that looks like a what, Head and Shoulders top? No,
Well, it's, yeah, that or it has dandruff. Yeah,
yeah.
something here.
Not good, not good.
Let's
So
move
yeah,
along.
we just need to surprise the naysayers out there with a 1 or 2 million ton purchase day. I'm not going to rule that out. I'm just not.
Mm-mm. Well, you're a very optimistic fella. Let's get to our southern border here.
Boy, did we have some news. They're reopening. They're reopening an inspection of Santa Teresa, December the 9th. Yes, and now this is the we're on USMCA. I thought we were on the
No,
NA.
I might have screwed up because I'm allowed to screw up here. We're
I,
just on the U.S. Mexican border.
that's the screwworm. That's the screwworm.
That's
Yes.
one
All right.
half of the USMCA.
Yes, yes. We got the screwworm out there.
Oh yeah, we got the
Here's
screw worm.
here's some news that we don't know the full reason, but USDA's APHIS offices
hmm
have been told not to update their site for information. Now,
About cattle
does
and stuff.
yeah, it could be, yeah, veterinary information. We don't know whether this is tied into the screwworm issues or not. But we're getting into that time frame where initially the goal was either to reopen a phased in reopening of the border either in December or January. So I don't know whether this signals that, but APHIS offices were told not to talk that much and not to post any updates to their site. Just I find that more than interesting. And you had
hmm
another incident of a screwworm in northern Mexico. Now, here's the sensitivity. Earlier this week, I reported, and I know this is a sensitive issue. Some sources told me that this could have been placed by the cartel in
Oh
Mexico.
my,
That's a serious
we're going deep
charge.
we're going deep
We're
conspiracy
going
theory
deep.
here on a
Yeah, some
Friday.
source, I have to say, some source, not all,
You can't
not
tell us
all.
the source because you'd have to
Oh,
kill us.
oh no, there were two very good sources I had. That's why I
hmm
needed a confirmation. So I don't know whether that's true. They think that they want to keep that border closed for whatever reason. And let's hope that's not the case. Other people say no. They can explain the northern tier, northern Mexico incidents through other information. But I have to admit, I've heard that from some pretty good people. If that's the case, boy, this is a serious issue here.
So that'd say, "Where's the beef?" Like the Wendy's commercial, right?
This is one I had almost had a headache after writing it today. There's the administration still wants to get those beef prices down. You'll recall I told you I was in Nebraska
Mm-hmm.
this week, and the cattle people there, they were in a good mood again because we had a very good run up uh,
Prices.
in prices.
Can I
I
show
mean,
people an example of that? This is
yes,
live
show it.
cattle. This is live cattle, folks. Look at that V bottom.
They rose
That
315 to 227.15. That was near the daily high and hit a 3-week high, Tommy. For the
mhm.
week, February live cattle rose a little over $11, and January feeder futures closed up to almost $2.50 at $339 and change. That was not only near the daily, that was near the daily low actually, but it hit a 4-week high early on. For the week, January feeders were up over $15. Not
I
bad.
remember when you and I were podcasting a few months ago, they had an up 20 handle week and it was crazy. We had up 15 and we're just kind of getting used to it, right?
Well, it shows you the demand is still there. So, and the cattle producers in Nebraska asked me, what doesn't our president, who they like, doesn't he understand the cattle industry? That it takes 2 to 3 years to rebuild the herd, and why hurt us when the demand is not suffering in that? So they were a little disgruntled as far as the attempt to significantly lower the price of beef. And that's what I wrote a complex special report that they're still looking at trade policy and the quotas and
Hmm.
other quota area. And you may want to read it if you're a cattle producer. But the bottom line, I quoted different industry people, and they said if they did some of the things that I discussed in that report, there will be negative political consequences and major economic damage to the cattle industry, that they would have to have an aid program, and they
Mm.
better not do that. So
Real
that's
quick,
kind of the bottom line of the report.
on this sheet, did we cover everything you just wanted to talk about?
That's what I talked about. It's the debate whether, President Trump can unilaterally modify what's called the OCQ. That's the other country quota on beef imports.
Hmm.
It's so complex. That's why most people don't talk about it. But the OCQ fills immediately each year, and then that triggers that 26.4% tariffs. Now,
Hmm.
lawyers say that Trump can lower the tariff by proclamation. But he can't easily raise the quota due to our World Trade Organization bindings. So, but cutting the tariff would increase beef imports and lower ground beef prices very quickly. Will he do that? We don't know. Some people are telling him to, but as I said, the cattle groups want the tariff. That said, Warren tariff cuts would hurt U.S. cattle prices big time, risk rancher livelihoods, and damage Trump's rural political support. And I agree with that. So I don't think some of these potential maneuvers that he can use will be used unless they're really desperate. They should just let the market handle it. You don't see a big cutback in demand yet. You just don't.
Think about the fortunes made and lost. I know personally I did well in some of those sell-offs, and when the president says I'm going to get the price of beef lowered, we have a plan. I believed him. Now he hasn't said a lot about it lately, but hey, the weekend's just starting, so stay tuned. Let's talk about this real quick. Then I want to bring up something interesting.
December the 10th, that's coming up next week. We have a 2-day, December 9th and 10th, Federal Open Market Committee meeting, FOMC. And I think we're at 90% or higher odds that we'll have a 25 basis point cut in interest rates. That's the
Hmm.
known part. If they don't cut, then oh my goodness,
Oh,
he'll
that'll
fire.
rock the
He would
market. Yeah.
fire. Yeah, he would fire the current Fed chairman, Jerome J. Powell. But I think that's a given now for a quarter point cut. But the key is when we have the presser event, the press conference,
Hmm.
what will Jerome J. Powell say regarding cuts in 2026? Now, interestingly, Tommy, on the morning of December 10th, that's the date in the afternoon, 2 o'clock
Hmm.
Eastern time, when they announced the FOMC decision, in the morning on December the 10th, will issue an updated jobs report. We haven't really seen a live one for a while. That
Mm.
could determine if there's a major surprise in that jobs report. If there's any reason not to cut, it would come about from the jobs report. So that's that 10% fudge factor on I think that the trade has relative to the cut. So listen to
Hmm.
what the jobs report says on December the 10th. But for the future, listen to what they say regarding additional cuts, because they're going to look at job numbers now. Even though the economy looks okay right now, we're starting to see more and more layoffs and things like that in certain businesses, and I know that's got the Fed's attention. Also, in early January, Trump is going to announce his new Fed chairperson. Powell can last until May of 2026. And the odds are betting that it'll be National Economic Council Kevin Hassett. The bond market, some people in the bond market don't like that. There's Kevin
Look
Hassett.
at
Good guy.
that. Be careful what you wish for,
See
Jim. I got
there,
pictures. I got pictures.
see there. He is very articulate. He was on Mornings with Maria show, and I've got a special report out on that, on her excellent questions. Maria is a great Bartoloma is a great questioner because she knows the markets. I mean,
Hmm.
she's a long time financial
Big
trader,
time. Yeah.
reporter. But call that up on your site, Tommy. I would tell the listeners and viewers, because
Right here.
both,
This.
yes, go through the questions and answers, and you'll see Kevin Hassett knows his stuff and he knows how to explain it. As an economist, he can still speak English, and that's rare
Mm.
amongst economists. He's very, very clear. Now, what some bond traders don't like him if he's the choice, because they think that it will erode the independence of the Federal Reserve, and because he's so close to President Trump. I think that he would still be a good chairman, but the other one that I think has a possibility to become Fed chairman is Kevin Warsh.
Mm.
That's what the bond market will like better. And they think that Kevin Hassett should stay at the NEC because, along with Scott Besson at Treasury, they are seen as the best spokesman to educate Americans on the Trump economic policy, taxes, regulations, growth, entrepreneurship, productivity. That's what Kevin Hassett got into in the interview with Maria, and said, we're going to have almost 4% increase in productivity. And along with declining inflation, that speaks to robust gross domestic product, GDP, growth into 2026. And that's why they're pretty confident about the U.S. economy in calendar year 2026. Trump and the Republicans better hope for that, because unless they get that pretty big turnaround in the economy, the political experts are signaling right now that the Democrats will regain control of the House, and most of them still think that the Republicans will retain control of the Senate. But I think we're ahead of ourselves there. That's next year. But watch the economy; it's very important.
Very cool. All right, you get a sip of water. I'm going to explain to people what
Yes.
premium content is. Of course, you want to see Mr. Wiesemeyer's articles. You could see all that on www www.ag. Bull Wiesemeyer Show is free, but we do premium content 3, 4 times a week where we have educational videos, special guests that we don't put out in public. Of course, we're texting clients daily. We put a nice morning rap sheet in their inbox by 9 o'clock every morning, and then we communicate with them throughout the rest of the day through text and email. Of course, we have those special educational videos, $25 a month, $250 annually. I want to say big thanks to Wiffles Hybrids and all the new premium subscribers that came on from that meeting out there in Iowa. Jim, the Iowa farmer was optimistic. Their yields were down a little bit in Quad City. They had that problem with rust. I'm sure you heard a lot about that this late summer. And then,
Absolutely. I heard the rust, and I also heard in Nebraska sudden death soybeans that you don't
mhm,
usually hear in Nebraska. And I had a special on that this week on the internet site of that. Once you get sudden death soybeans, it's a continual problem that you have to guard against. So there's two major products out into the marketplace, and that can be a yield killer on that one, 20 to 40 bushels hit. That's a big time hit. So yeah, I heard the rust big time in Nebraska, and of course when I traveled to Iowa and Illinois, I did find out that the soybeans in Nebraska did quite well. By the way, the yield
okay.
overall, the yield in Nebraska was quite high.
But that sudden deaths, like those girls that used to stay away from in high school who would have the cold sores, they can control them, but that keeps coming back, right?
I had a cotton farmer tell me years ago
Oh,
that
you're gonna one up me. You're gonna one up me.
his best advice is when you're dating someone, go to the bathroom and open up the medicine cabinet to see what's
Well, I hope nobody opens
and
mine.
never date a woman who has balloons on her checkbook. It just that was I remember a cotton
Yeah.
grower telling me
Oh
that.
my
Just he just
God.
didn't. And the other the really good advice he had is don't buy a boat. Just know have a friend who has one.
That is a true story. Well, speaking of boats, if we go down south, we can go to the Gulf of America and see our friends at the USMCA. Of course, we go up north and we could see our friends from Canada. What's this mean? USMCA, a
United
five-letter
States
acronym.
United States, Mexico, Canada Agreement, USMCA. And we had a series of hearings beginning Wednesday this week on the future of USMCA because the review by the legislation involved with USMCA is July of next year. Now, both President Trump and U.S. Trade Rep Jameson Greer signaled this week that said, you know, if we don't get some changes that we want, there's Greer of making sure that China doesn't have end arounds to get some of their products like cars in either from Canada or
Hmm.
Mexico and maybe a couple other sectoral issues. Both Trump and Greer said, you know, we may want to return to just having bilateral agreements with Canada and Mexico. Now, the majority of witnesses at the 3 days of hearings, and I think they could continue now because there was
Okay.
widespread interest in it. They want a continuation of the USMCA because it basically has worked. It's not that no agreement is perfect, but we have a North American market. Canada, the US, and Mexico. And there can always be adjustments, but I think what the Trump and Greer are saying is just jawboning ahead of negotiations. I hope that's the case because I think that overall agreement has been good for all three countries.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Well, we do. Speaking of Mexico, they have bought a ton of corn from us, and thank you, Mexico. I wish I had a clapping sound, but do you know how much lower corn would be if Mexico wasn't buying it from us?
absolutely. That would be the soybean thing on China. You know,
Hmm.
and look at the whenever you get into negative U.S. Mexico issues, a U.S. hog producer gets very nervous because they buy a lot of our hams, and Mexico always retaliates on U.S. hams, and so they know how to hit us if they have to. And we could see later on today. Both Trump is meeting for the World Soccer event, but Mexico's President Sheinbein is here, and Canada's Prime Minister is here, and I know all three will be talking. I don't think they'll have a lot of time to talk about trade issues, but we could have something develop out of that when they're eyeball to eyeball. You never know what's going to happen,
Maybe
especially
Trump will pop off and say something about the border.
especially with our president. Yes,
He loves when those red lights are on top of those cameras. It means he's live.
the Nebraska people asked me about him, and
Hmm.
I said it's Trump on steroids in this
Hmm.
term, and he's not going to change. That's the way he is. Now he is
Oh,
leaving
can
this
I add to
weekend.
that?
Yes.
Trump said some very maybe words that we're not supposed to say about Tim Walz. Uh, and
Yes.
I very much try never to say that word unless I'm talking about my brother Joe, of course. But um, that on one of the shows that leans left, they said, "Did you hear what he said?" And that one guy who's a wonderful commentator, he says, "You know what? 76 million people don't care. They actually like it. So get
Yeah.
over it." And he's not going to change.
No.
He's 80 years old, 79. How old is he?
He's about 80, 79,
Yeah,
80. Yeah,
yeah.
his birthday is a day after mine. And Xi Jinping is the day before mine. So it's Xi
Oh, that's
Jinping, my
Three
birthday.
Stooges. Three Stooges. How the hell did you
No,
just put
it's
that
the Three
together?
Musketeers. Come on, it's how you phrase
Oh
it.
my God. I told you this show would be exciting. I didn't know. I thought it'd start off slow, but it's getting good. Let's move along. I
but
gotta
but again, I
reel
want a
you in.
bottom line from Nebraska.
Yeah.
They said
Yeah.
explain Trump to us, and I go, it would take as long as he speaks
Yeah.
each time that he speaks. But his heart is in the right place. I think he America first and all that.
Hmm.
A lot of people love what he does. They just don't like how he does it.
Hmm. Whenever someone asks me, "Hey, how you doing?" and they're being sincere, I say, "Do you have a few hours? I'll tell
Yeah,
you."
yeah. Now I would say that. Yeah, sit down,
Oh
boy.
God, sit down. I got something to tell you, boy. Farm Bill 2.0. See you in
Yeah,
2026.
there's another move the goalpost, right? There,
Oh boy.
that's our bug. Yeah, that's our bug for this program today. GT Thompson, House Ag Committee Chairman. If there's anyone that's more optimistic about a farm bill timeline, it has
Hmm.
been GT. He is even admitting that there's not enough time and votes right now to get it done this calendar year. That's the skinny farm bill. It's not the major farm
Hmm.
bill. We got the major farm bill, thank goodness, done in the budget reconciliation bill. That was the dramatic increase of 10 to 20% in the reference prices and crop insurance changes that we'll get to later.
Hmm.
But now he's saying, oh, I think this is going to be delayed until January. I'm not so sure we'll ever see that 2.0 done until after the 2026 elections. Why do I say that? The Democrats, they think
Mm.
that they're going to win at least one, if not both chambers after the November 2026 elections. And unless the Republicans claw back some of the reduced spending for the food stamp program, SNAP. Yep, there you go. They're not going to go for any Farm Bill 2.0,
Mm.
which leads to farmers asking the question: will we ever have a farm bill again? And I
Mm.
and I say the question should be: should we have one? I think it's better handled annually in the appropriations process, so the policy people can better align what it's needed on an annual basis. Can you imagine, Tommy, doing a 4 to 5 year farm bill? I mean, that's
Mm-mm.
silly to me nowadays. It used
Mm-mm.
to be okay, not any longer. We need to do this on an annual basis. That way, then it doesn't get married, hitched, if you will, to the food stamp issues.
Right.
Do it on its own merits. Do it on
Right.
its merits of
So
what agriculture needs.
let's educate people. Jim Wiesemeyer says the word SNAP, and we know how important that is for food security for so many people. Now I'm going to post a picture of the Farm Bill. You think we're talking about farmers and agriculture. Explain this picture. Now you have to understand
80, yeah.
thousands of people are listening. They can't see this picture, sir.
Okay, if you saw a pie chart, and it would be like I learned in logic class in college, that food stamp or nutrition funding gets the lion's share of Farm Bill spending. And what's the lion's share? All the lion wants to eat. That's the definition of
Mm,
lion's share. It's a little over 80%. 80% of the Farm Bill spending is on food stamps. That's why it has so much clout for the 42 million Americans, who many of whom really need food assistance. But it shows you the stress that they want to keep increasing the spending for food stamps. And if you saw the pie chart,
here
the
it is.
smaller percentages are for the safety net, for crop insurance, etc. So that's why I think maybe it is time. I never thought I'd say this, that we ought to
Okay.
unhitch the farm bill from the food stamp debate, but I'm beginning to have my doubts right now.
Well, you're getting older, a little maturity. You're learning. You can teach an old dog some new tricks. For people who can't see that chart, it looks like Pac-Man and all the other like a Pac-Man logo, and all the other little things be like what's going in Pac-Man's mouth. Um, Yeah, we say farm bill, but it's really food security. And by the way, those 42 million people, we did learn the last few weeks, some of them are dead and some of them are receiving it 4 times. So we need to clean that up. It may be closer to 38, 39 million people, but there's a
And
real need, no doubt.
absolutely. And I think Rollins is right. Whenever you spend as much money as you do on any program like this, you're going to have waste, fraud, and abuse. And Rollins is trying to get data, and she's having a hard time getting information from some
The blue
Democrat
states.
controlled,
Yeah,
from the blue
shocker,
states. Yeah. And
shocker.
so now they're threatening to delay some administrative funding to those states. So she's got their attention now. I just think you need the data. What's wrong with reforms of any program to make it more efficient and more saleable to the American public? And so I applaud her for that one. I think she's on the right path there.
Hmm. Well, we're talking lightning round now. We're getting down to the last few, Mr. Wiesemeyer.
Here's the this is the key policy issue ahead for corn and soybeans. Why do I say that? Because if you're going to not have the increase in exports that soybeans, especially, we have record corn exports now, even with the low prices we have record corn exports. But if that means that domestic utilization has to pick up, has to increase, well, a corn and soybean producer will tell you the key topics in biofuels are year-round E15, that we had some push this week to either announce it administratively, or better than that, codify it in Congress through a must-pass bill. That will eventually lead to more utilization, year-round E15. And two, renewable fuel standard program, we need to know the mandated levels, they call them RVOs, mandated
Hmm.
levels for corn and renewable diesel and biodiesel for 2026 and 2027. That was supposed to come out by now, but now more news reports are commenting on what we talked about a month ago, that it's probably going to be delayed until early next year in 2026. Then you have the 45Z program, sustainable aviation fuel, that could be a big pickup for the utilization of soybeans and corn, depending on the eligibility factor and the other rules. IRS and Treasury say they're too busy implementing the one big beautiful bill tax measures, and this could be delayed until 2026 as well. Well, we're delaying because you got to know the rules in order to have the potential of increase in domestic utilization for corn and soybeans. So that's frustrating more than a few producers out there, and I don't blame them from being frustrated.
Well, we had some breaking news in crop insurance, and tie this into what you learned in crop insurance. We also have a chart to
Yeah,
show?
USDA. Yeah, show the chart because
Okay.
they put out a press release this morning, and it was mostly good news because they said, the key benefits include easier prevent plant qualification, but I'll have it updated that. Simpler
Okay.
provider switching. If a farmer switches providers, it's kind of complex now. It's like canceling a subscription online.
Hmm.
Some firms, it's hard to cancel. Expanded beginning farmer benefits, improved specialty crop coverage, fair dispute processes. Farmers need that. Local flexibility on coverage dates and refund protections for revenue policies. But let me go back to the first one, prevent
Okay.
plant. What they didn't say in the USDA release is what had those Nebraska farmers upset. And I know when I go down south, I'll hear it. They did away with the 5% buy up for prevent plant. So it's limited to
Really?
50%. Yeah. Why did they do that? In the rule that they put out on this morning, once I got time
Hmm.
to read the rule, it said, well, we really don't need the 5 percentage point buy up for prevent plant because it mainly goes to the Dakotas. Well,
Hmm.
tell that to Nebraska, tell that to the 800,000 or so acres of prevent plant in Arkansas and bordering states
Hmm.
this year. So the reason they don't say it's because the Office of Management and Budget told USDA to do away with the 5% buy up for prevent plant.
Hmm.
And at this late date, when farmers are making decisions, that's not the way to go, Tommy. So hopefully this will be reversed if they hear half of the negatives I've been hearing on this one ever since they announced it. They better modify it back to where it was before. You don't
Yeah.
make those late
And
changes.
tell the folks sitting in back, who is the they you keep talking about?
They that well, it's risk management agency, but they're only as good as what they can get approved by the Office of Management and Budget. So when you hear RMA, that's
Hmm.
risk management agency, that's the crop insurance agency that works with the private industry. And I've always said the best farm programs that I've ever seen in my long career has been crop insurance because it's the best joint venture between the government and the private industry. And
Absolutely.
those crop insurance agents and underwriters, they do a fantastic job, and they don't rest on their laurels. There's constant changes out there. And what I also picked up in Nebraska is I know Farmers Mutual Hail and a number of other underwriters, they're increasingly getting artificial intelligence in part of their crop insurance programs. Tommy, what I saw and heard of how AI is going to help the complexity of dealing with so
Mm.
many options that a farmer has in crop insurance. Believe it or not, it's going to make it easier. And within a minute, you can ask a query a program that will be coming out. It's available from some groups right now. That's the step in the right direction as we get into better and better risk management tools. Would you have that if you wouldn't have private industry? No.
Mm-mm.
So the
No, no.
private industry is doing a heck of a job there.
Which brings up the last question. 2026 crop plantings. What are we going to plant, Jim?
Well,
And
that's
why?
not the last one. We didn't get to the farmer aid. Let's first get to that.
You didn't, did I skip?
Oh, you skipped the farmer aid. That's the big one.
Oh, Jim, you're calling me out. How did you?
I
Is that
don't
what you
know.
sent that
Yeah,
picture
is it
for?
next week or another next week? You'll recall that
I'll get the
last week
goalpost out.
we hit we hit Secretary Rollins. There's the goalpost again. Rollins said a week ago it would be out this week. Now, she was hit hard this
Hmm.
past week from saying, "Well, it won't be this week, but it'll be next week." Now, to defend her, Tuesday they had a cabinet meeting, and she said a key line, "Mr. President, next week we will be announcing with you a farmer aid plan."
Hmm.
The problem is, I think they were ready to go last week, but it didn't fit Trump's schedule. So
Okay.
they had to delay it. Now, the word is it's coming next week. Now, what's it going to be? They're starting to leak now a little on this one. I think the total funding level, I keep hearing, will be north of $12 billion. So let's range it, 12 to 14 billion dollars, and it will include not just a trade mitigation program. It just won't be because of the downturn in some crops, soybeans, sorghum, cotton, as a result of China's previous boycott of our products, but it also will be low price aid as a bridge into 2026. And it will also include specialty crops. Now, that's a chunk of crops there, and
Mhm.
it'll take some money for specialty crops. So, row crops may not get as much as they could have otherwise, but I'm not saying that's a bad. That's a bad development because specialty crops need it too. So it looks like next week, 12 to 14 billion dollars in total funding. Listen to see how they're going to make the payments. Rollins said last week that they would be made in early January. I think that's very optimistic. I would say the first quarter of 2026, we're going to have to
We
see.
need that money to renew operating, Jim.
Absolutely. And that's where the bridge is correct. You need a bridge because I know I hear from farmers. I heard from them in Nebraska, and I get a lot of emails saying, from some, not the majority, the minority. What, like, why, why does a farmer who bought all that price land in Iowa and Illinois, why do they need a payment? And I usually ask them, are you going to reject the payment if offered? Well, they say no, but still.
Hmm.
But this a bridge is needed because I don't have to go to another state to hear the hurt. It's like President Clinton used to say, "I feel your pain." There's a lot of pain out there, Tommy, and
Hmm.
we've had several years of lower prices. And although farmers had equity, thank goodness, most of them had equity built up. They have drained most, if not all, of that
Of the
equity.
cash, yeah.
That's why you need that cash flow, because it's not going to be until the fall of 2026 where we will have a much better safety net, where the current farm doc out of the University of Illinois says
Hmm.
that we're going to get about $6 billion or so in payments to corn producers alone
Wow.
in 2025 crops. So uh, that's why you need that bridge, and there could be several bridges. When we get the announcement, let's hope it's next week, listen to see whether or not they say that some additional funding could come in the early part of 2026 if needed. That's one unknown. Listen for that. And the second one I would say is whether or not they mentioned G.T. Thompson, and House Ag Committee Chairman, and John Bozeman, Senate Ag Committee Chairman, are working on a farmer aid package similar to what they had last December of that $10 billion in farmer aid. So at least we know the questions to listen for whenever they announce it, Tommy.
Absolutely. You get a little drink. I want to remind folks one more time about signing up for premium content. I'll tell you what, I watch the YouTube analytics, and not everyone watches to the end. So if in the next week you sign up for premium content, I will send you back your $25. If you sign up for the 250, you will instantly get a credit from me for 25. If you sign up for 1 month for 25, I'll send you your $25 back. That is my Christmas gift to you. I promise you, you will like Mr. Premium Content, Mr. Wiesemeyer. Uh, I knew you needed to get a drink of water, so that let
Yes.
me talk about myself, which I just love. Uh, the farmers in Iowa, I got to tell you about the farmers in Iowa. They were so optimistic. They were such great guys and gals. The wives were out. They're sometimes, you're a great public speaker. When you ask the crowd to start asking you questions, there's usually someone slow. And as I've learned in public speaking, you usually have to plant a few questions. And then once someone asks a question, they won't stop. But I'm sure your crowds ask great questions. True, Jim?
The Nebraska people were fantastic. Yeah, the Iowa, wherever you go, I usually find Minnesota, uh, they're not timid. They will ask. I think it must be the cold weather. They are really interested in finding answers. And of course, when I go south, I'm a Southerner at heart. I come
Hmm.
from Southern Illinois originally, but I love when I go to the south, to the rice growers, and then to the cane people. And next year, where I will learn again. While I can drink with the Cajun, I can't keep drinking with the Cajun. Okay. I
I
learn that
love it.
each year. And then, as I said, next Wednesday, yeah, I'll be speaking in Newton, Kansas. It's the best cattle and wheat program I go to each year. And that's jam packed, wall to wall people, growers. And I learn as much from them, hopefully, as they learn from me, Tommy. But
Mhm.
the spirit is there, but farmers are cautious now. They need the cash flow. They don't want to say it, but you can tell it from their the types of questions they ask.
Last one, 2026 crop plantings, and you have a chart to you want me to pop up, right?
Yeah, this was from an economist chart, and they're saying more soybeans next year, fewer corn. I just think it's a parlor game right now in December to talk about this. We have to look at the crop insurance programs. We have to see the demand
The payment.
situation.
What if the corn farmers got paid $5 billion
True,
this year? Now,
true.
yeah.
That all factors in. But at least this is what at least the mindset of some economists, probably who sit on the second or third floor of their building. So I don't think
Hmm.
it's ground truth, to tell you the truth. So I've learned over the decades, farmers love to grow corn.
Yeah,
They
they
just
don't
do.
build a bin and a dryer, multi-million-dollar bin and dryer, and have all those trucks to go, well, we harvested the crop, delivered it to the elevator, and we're done. So,
Yes. The other question I got a
mhm.
lot that didn't surprise me, but it jumped out at every producer I talked to was in Nebraska. They're saying, we're still paying $800 or higher for fertilizer.
Oh,
What's going
oh,
on? Is there any hope? And things like
yeah.
that. I said, well, and they said $900 if they wait until next year to buy. The suppliers are sitting on a lot of high price product,
Mm.
where I really legitimately don't think in most cases it's price gouging. I think it's a series of events why we continue to have higher input prices. And a big time, it's the way we've run our trade policy. We've shut off Moroccan products. China has been holding back on fertilizer, etc. And but I did hear that a lot when I went out. The fertilizer prices are not lessening; they're still very firm, and that's cutting into the margins.
Interesting you say that. I was asked that also. I didn't answer it. I didn't even try to answer it. I said I didn't come here to talk to you about fertilizer prices, and you're going to have to go ask the three people in the world who control them. And they go, understand your point. All right, leave us with something optimistic. Don't forget, folks, Mr. Wiesemeyer is traveling next week, and a lot of the winter. I know we're starting to get asked to do a few gigs together. If you'd ever like to see Tommy and Jim speak together, will you get two for one? No, you don't get two for one. You got to pay for both. But we'll come and do this live stream at your farm, your meeting, your ranch. We'll bring the cameras, lights, equipment. Might even see me put a little powder on my face. And Jim always does his hair up real nice. So, where do people see you speak this week?
I'm sorry.
Where are people, one more time, where are they going to see you speak this week?
Oh, in New Orleans for the rice growers meeting. Monday afternoon I speak, and then Tuesday I catch a plane event to Wichita, and then drive up to Newton, Kansas. I have very good friends there. Dave Spears, who's now retired from MKC Co-op, is the
Mm-hmm.
co-op. But well, I'll have dinner with him, he and some growers, and then I speak Wednesday, and then I fly back to Washington, D.C., get back in the early morning Thursday about 12:30, and then I go downtown to Georgetown, D.C., and speak to the peanut growers. Haven't spoken with them for a few years. So that's what I like, Tommy. You hear ground truth from different groups and different regions of the
Mm-hmm.
US. And it keeps you a little more honest, because it's not just Illinois or Iowa, although I love those two states, but you hear from different factions when you go to Fargo in February and South Dakota, Nebraska, etc., and it makes you humble that this diversity that we have. And I'll end it with the good news. Next week,
Mm-hmm.
let's assume that they're correct now, this time, that we're going to get an aid package announced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, uh, this will hopefully be a bridge, a true bridge that doesn't have many cracks in it to 2026. That won't make farmers whole. It is not a bailout, but it's a taxpayer assistance for a job well done and the acknowledgement that food is security in this great country. And we're going to see it again with income transfers that are mostly needed in the farm country.
We'll leave it there. Thanks, my friend. I'll see you next week.
Sure.